Welcome back, guys, everybody, to Creative Witchy Mama. Today, I just want to jump in and talk about childbirth. It's not going to be for everybody, obviously. Some people might be interested if they're going through this themselves, or if they've had a similar experience. But I want to talk about childbirth, but also for me, the importance of having a private midwife, and having the right support around me in that moment of childbirth. So for those of you that don't know, I have a son. He's 8 months old. He is my world. Absolutely love him to pieces. And I was coming off the back of having an amazing pregnancy. Absolutely loved it. Felt amazing all the way through. And during my pregnancy, I think I'd already decided. I'd decided beforehand that I wanted to have a private midwife, or I wanted to pursue that anyway and see what my options were. So I was actually put in contact with an awesome midwife called Kate, who just was amazing. She reassured me a lot. She was relatively close to my house, had a lovely clinic, awesome manner, very open and honest, very, very open to listening to me as well, and allowing me to kind of guide her as to what I wanted my childbirth setting to look like. So early on in the pregnancy, I met with her. I met at her clinic multiple times, to sort of talk about what I wanted. So I wanted a home birth. I had done everything. I'd booked in basically to have a home birth, and not just a home birth, but also a water birth. I was really excited about this. I'd hired the pool from her, got everything set up. Obviously, she talked me through the whole process. All the tools, had some amazing information that I could access. And for the whole time that I was kind of seeing her, I think from maybe like 4 months in, so for a good 5 months I was seeing her having my son. She was there. She was there for me anytime I had a question. She was there. I had regular appointments with her, and like I said, she was just a wealth of knowledge. She had kind of stepped away from working in hospitals herself, and was facilitating home birth because she believed that, all women should have the right to choose. And that is definitely what I think too. I think we should be able to choose. And especially if you're having a normal birth, there's no complications, everything like that, then why shouldn't we be able to choose, right? But at week 37, I think it was, my midwife came around to my home. By this time she was doing home visits. She wanted to check out the house, make sure that I'd had everything prepared for the water birth, because obviously from then, I could have gone into labor and could happen. So yeah, she came around and she took my blood pressure, and it happened to be high. Took it again, it was still high, and then she made me aware that it could be a sign of preeclampsia. And this was something that hadn't come up before. I'd never had high blood pressure, never had any issues with my blood pressure ever at all. So this was a surprise to me, but apparently this can happen to women all the time in pregnancies. So I then, on the advice from my midwife, I then visited my local hospital to get some thorough checks, some blood tests, some more monitoring on my baby. And basically this went on for a couple of weeks, or a few weeks actually, because I didn't have H until almost 42 weeks. So, and every time my high blood pressure was there, but there was no other signs of preeclampsia. Everything was fine. So I was still gearing up for my home water birth, still keeping a really good conversation with my midwife, and what options would be if not. I mean, I was adamant at this phase that I would still be having a home water birth. But then, as it turned out, the day that I actually went into labor, my midwife rang me and said, look, Sherry, I'm so sorry, but home water birth is off the table, and you are now presenting signs of preeclampsia. So bear in mind, at this point, I'd been in and out of the hospital lots of times, having lots and lots of checks, lots of blood tests, lots of monitoring, everything. And it was actually the day I'd had another scan on Harrison to make sure that everything was fine, and everything was showing fine. And yeah, unfortunately, I was then showing signs of preeclampsia. I just want to go back a few days though, because my blood pressure had gotten so high that the hospital said, look, we're going to need to put you on some medication. Again, I spoke to my midwife about this, and she said, look, if you're not on this medication, I won't be able to facilitate a home birth, because this does then reduce the risk of you going into shock and bleeding and things like that. So I was like, okay, look, this is obviously for the safety of me, safety of my baby, and then also because I still wanted my home birth. So I was put on some medication prior. Now, yeah, so I then had this conversation with my midwife. So this was on the Thursday, the 12th of September. And I have to say, I mean, she delivered the news so beautifully and graciously. And she said, I'm going to allow you time to mourn. And, you know, I hadn't even thought about it, because I had literally prepared myself so much for having that home water birth. I'd spoken to friends. I wanted somebody there doing some shamanic drumming for me, some singing bowls. I just wanted it to be the most beautiful experience. And I'm even getting a bit emotional now because it's what I really wanted at that time. But what I needed to do then in that moment was take a deep breath. And what I did was I made myself a really beautiful dinner. I had lots of sausages and mash and some veggies, and then at about 8 o'clock, I then headed into the hospital. And again, talking to and fro with my midwife, I said, you know, what are my options from here? And she said, well, let's get to the hospital and maybe we'll talk about induction. You know, maybe that's the path that we have to go down, but there's obviously multiple paths. So the great thing about having these constant conversations with her was, A, she knew what kind of birth that I wanted, and B, she could communicate and tell me that there was more than one option. Because I have to tell you, going into the hospital after being sort of, I guess, gearing myself up for kind of like a free home birth, and just having very minimal people there, to then going into a setting where you're surrounded by doctors, OBs, midwives, nurses, everybody all around you. Often you kind of get caught up into this whirlwind of a medical machine. And what I mean by that is you're kind of bombarded with stuff. The doctors and nurses and midwives will be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I was just kind of taken aback by this. And the great thing is my midwife was like, no, there are multiple options. There are always multiple options, and you don't have to do any of them. And it just really, really reassured me that I could continue this path with her by my side. My mum as well. My mum was with me in the birthing suite and everything. So, but yeah, so she kept me well informed and could give me information, again, in layman's terms as well, because sometimes it feels like they're throwing jargon at you, and they just want you to make a decision on the spot. And sometimes a decision, some of the decisions that you have to make need to be thought about. You need to know what the consequences are. You need to know what's going to happen to your body. What are the side effects to these things? All of these, there's so many questions. So it was really nice to have her there to be able to be like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my baby? And have these conversations constantly. So anyway, I'm just going to flip back a little bit. when I went into the hospital, I actually then went into labor while I was waiting in the the waiting area, which was great. So they popped me straight in the birthing suite, which was awesome. I was opting for no pain relief. I'd hired a TENS machine. Started using that. That was great. Did not want to be in that bed at all. The most comfortable position, which no position is comfortable when you're in labor, let me tell you. Certainly wasn't for me anyway. But the most comfortable was actually in the bathroom under the running water, with some hot water on my back, almost basically on my knees. So on my knees, crouched over. And that was the position that I was in for a very long time. Now, unfortunately, I did start hemorrhaging. So I had like a rupture or a bleed or something. And although it's quite normal to bleed going through childbirth, there was a lot more than there should have been. So this was something that they were monitoring, but straight away the doctors are coming in saying, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And like, again, I'm in labor, so, pain threshold is getting, further and further away, trying to get into my zone, doing all those things. My contractions are getting closer together, they're getting harder and, more painful. And the doctors are just like, they're just so in your face. And I cannot tell you in that moment how grateful I was to my midwife. Now, not just the midwife that I'd hired, but the midwife that I spoke to when I first went in was also excellent. She understood what I wanted from my birth, and carried on that all the way through, which was amazing. But she wasn't the one who was making a lot of the other decisions. It was the obstetrician and doctors that were all around. So I get, they just wanted to make sure that I was safe, baby was safe, in and out, whatever. But at the same time, I still wanted to try and have as natural birth as possible. So they're talking about, breaking my waters. They're talking about this, they're talking about that. And, it was scary. It was scary because I didn't understand a lot of what they were saying either. I struggled to comprehend what they were telling me because I was in a world of pain. And again, like having my midwife there was just such a relief because again, she knew what I wanted. We discussed it numerous times and she could reassure me that we would get as close to that as possible. And what she could do was like almost reiterate what the doctor was saying, but in normal terms so I could understand it a little bit better. It is so important, ladies out there, like going through this, have a birth plan, have it ready, and talk to the people that are with you so they know what you want as well. To the degree, like everything, cover everything, ask someone all the different procedures, speak to a midwife, and really know what all of your options are and get somebody with you that is going to be able to advocate for you as well. Because then what happened for me was, along with all these ruptures, I was then stuck at like 6 centimeters for ages, and nothing was happening. I was pushing and it appeared that Harrison's head was maybe a little bit stuck in sort of like this position. It was getting stuck and was obviously a bit of a stressful time, not just for me, but also for him too. So they asked if they could then break my waters because not all of it had broken. So I allowed them to do that, which was also very difficult because they needed me to sit on the bed. Can I tell you that position is not natural for childbirth? It is, I don't care what anybody says. That to me did not feel natural at all. It felt weird and honestly, it felt so painful. So I'm not sure why we get ladies to lay on their back, and you know, to me it's weird. It did not feel like a natural position for me, but I did have to sit in that position so they could check me over and then break my waters, and then unfortunately Harrison had obviously gotten so stressed out inside that he had pooped inside, and it's called meconium. They can see all of this in the waters. It's like a greeny colour, and what that then meant was that I needed to go in for an emergency C-section straight away. There was no ifs, buts, or maybes about it, because he was distressed inside. So in that moment, you know, all of my feelings about the birth was just like, I need to do whatever is the most safe option for him to come out. So then I was taken up to theatre. Now at this point in theatre, I could only have one person, so I couldn't take my midwife. And plus, I mean, her duty was done by then, right? But I had my mum there. But my mum and the midwife had also been talking a lot. So even when it came to how I was going to really receive the pain relief, so she said try and have a spinal, because then you're not like completely knocked out, and then you can have your baby on you, because if you're knocked out you can't do that. And that's all I wanted, you know. Obviously I wanted Harrison on me. So at this point, I mean, this was like crazy, guys. Like, I cannot tell you, like, those contractions were nuts, and I've got the doctors yelling at me to stop moving and to stop pushing. It is the hardest thing when your body is convulsing and telling you to do something naturally. It's really hard to stop it. It's like trying to hold yourself back from vomiting when you really need to vomit or something. Like, it was so difficult, but I managed to sit there, have the spinal, and then obviously I was cut open, and Harrison was taken out of me. But at this point, Harrison was a code blue, so it meant that he wasn't breathing, and obviously because he pooped inside, the fear is that he will ingest some of it and it will go into his lungs, and basically I don't know if there's any coming back from there. So they had to basically get it all out of him, and it felt like a lifetime to hear him cry. Still gets me a little bit emotional, and I know he's safe now and I love him, but just reliving that moment, it was a very scary moment. And I asked my mum. My mum was here at my shoulder, and I just said, where's my baby? And my mum could see everything. My mum could see what they were doing to Harrison, and I think it scared her too. It scared her that he may not survive. But obviously he did. And the moment when they brought him over, and it was just relief. So much relief at that moment. And yeah, no one really prepares you for all of that at all. I'm lucky that my mum is, she's done a lot of therapy in her time, like practice therapy, and really helped me work through the emotions of that, and actually reliving it and talking about it, because I needed to kind of normalize it a bit, and know that Harrison is okay, because he's fine, rather than living in that kind of fearful moment. But it's still when I go back to that moment, it was crazy, and really scary at that moment. But after Harrison was put on my chest, like, I said to the midwife, I want him on me. Don't put anything on him. I just want him on me. I want that skin on skin. And we stayed like that. We literally stayed like that for like 6 or 7 hours. It was crazy. Really, really beautiful. It was the most beautiful like bonding time that I think anyone can have with their baby. So anyone that can do that, do it. The other thing I really wanted out of my birth was to keep my placenta. Yep, I'm that mum. I'm definitely that mum. Didn't know I was going to be that until I was having my baby, which is weird. But I had my placenta kept. I had it encapsulated. I've eaten my placenta. I mean, it just sounds weird, but I really genuinely believe that was part of the bonding with Harrison and I as well, and hopefully that helped with all the nutrition that has gone into him, because he's been breastfed since the day he was born. We've had a few ups and downs, which I will talk about in another video, but he's had so much great nutrition from that, but also he's barely been sick, and we've traveled, we've been everywhere, and yeah, he's unvaccinated as well, so his immune system though has been built on the breast milk and on everything that I've tried to do, but obviously there has been downsides to that as well, because he didn't come out of the birthing canal, which I'll talk about in some future content as well, because I think it's really important that we discuss like the difference between having a C-section and like a natural birth, and what it actually means for the baby too, because Harrison has definitely had some issues, and I do genuinely believe it's because it was a C-section, and maybe because it was also a traumatic birth for him as well. So that was a bit deep, that conversation, and but I guess out of all of it, I really want to reiterate for any new or going to be mums out there, you're thinking about it, like have your support around you. Get a private midwife if you can, or strike up a really great relationship with someone who can advocate for you, whether it's a family member, whether it's your partner, whether it's a great friend, because I think you need, especially if you're planning to do a home birth and then it all goes pear-shaped and you have to go into hospital for whatever reasons, and obviously it doesn't have to go all the way down to a C-section, emergency C-section. It could be that you're having a natural birth in hospital too, but make sure people know what your intentions are. Make sure they know your birthing plan. Make sure that the people that are there with you, your nearest and dearest, also know what your plan is. Do not be shy about it. Talk about it. Have it there, have it written out. Like it could be 20 pages long if you want. Like it doesn't matter. Just have all the information there, so then people can advocate on your behalf as well. Because when you're in that moment, when you are in labor and you are on another planet, like I can't describe it in any other way. You're just not really there. You're there, but not there. And so having the right people around you is so, so important. And I cannot highly recommend it more. And I would definitely do it again. I would hire a private midwife, again, to help me through that journey, because not only did she help me through that, she also helped me afterwards too. I even still see her now. She runs her own clinic, and I'll actually drop some details below as well. So if there's anybody in Melbourne, actually out like near Bacchus Marsh, there's a great clinic out there. You can head out there and see the midwives. They're fantastic. But yeah, so their continuity care is just second to none. So I highly recommend that. But yeah, surround yourself with people that know what you want. That's all I can say. And be prepared to let anything happen, but also know that you have choices all of the way. Like you don't have to just be told this is it and that's the only way. You always have choices. And sometimes those choices you might have to make even if you don't want to make them, but it becomes life, a life situation. You have to make that decision. So, but yeah, surround yourself with people that know what you want and know that you've got options there too. So thank you so much for tuning in today. If you do like the content, please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, then you'll find out once I upload some more new content. And yeah, I hope to see you again soon. I hope that wasn't too heavy for everybody. No, you know what? Sometimes it's important to listen to the heavy stuff as well as all the beautiful stuff too. So yeah, have a great day. Mwah. See you soon.